Today we're going to be taking a look at the SteamCrave Glaz RTA. This product was sent to me for the purpose of this review, and SteamCrave was nice enough to go ahead and send over a second Glaz RTA to give away. So I will be doing a giveaway on my website, kimmyvapes.org. So if you're interested in winning a Glaz RTA, head over to my website, check that out, and follow the directions there. Let's go ahead and get right into it. Let's open up this Glaz RTA and see what comes with it. Inside of the box, you're going to get your Glaz RTA, the spare 7 ml capacity glass, as well as the inner bell chamber glass, and you're also going to get a 10 ml bubble glass to go on the RTA as well. You also have a SteamCrave tank band that you can use, your accessory bag, which is going to have all your spare O-rings, spare post screws, and a spare grommet for the top. And then you're going to get a tri-tool, a SteamCrave sticker, and the SteamCrave's Glaz RTA V2 user manual. Taking a closer look at the Glaz V2 RTA. Now this is the biggest RTA I've ever held in my hands. It's really tall and very big in diameter. It's going to be a 31 millimeter in diameter. If we flip it over to the side, it does have a slightly protruding 510. I'm going to leave that up to you guys. I personally would not use this on a hybrid, but the 510 does protrude there, non-gold plated. So looking at the airflow here, you can see it is a honeycomb pattern design with this airflow control ring. The airflow control ring is on a stopper, and whatever you adjust to this side, it will adjust to this side. Flipping it over to look at the top, you can see the branding, SteamCrave Glaz, and we go ahead and push in this little divot, and that opens up your fill port. So this is a slide out fill method. If we take a look at the drip tip, it's just a Delrin drip tip. Now the drip tip is 810. It does have O-rings on the stem of the drip tip, but there is also an O-ring on the inside of your catch cup. So let's see, if I take this regular 810 drip tip, we can go ahead and fit other 810 drip tips on it. So it will fit both your goon style as well as the style of drip tips that have the O-rings on the stem. So that's really good that you can use either or. Let's go ahead and remove the base here. So taking the base out, taking a look on the inside here, you can see that glass bell cap. Now this does come out. You can go ahead and remove this section here, and that's going to bring down this metal cage, and you'll be able to remove and replace that bell cap if ever you were to break it, or you just want to take it fully apart to clean it. You are able to do so with this RTA. And here is the build deck. This is a postless build deck. It's a dual coil build deck. Let's go ahead and screw this down onto something real quick. So again, I am screwing this down on top of the Vaporesso switcher because that's pretty much the biggest mod I have as far as the space up here for the atomizer. And as you can see at 31 millimeters, it does slightly overhang on the Vaporesso switcher. So taking a look at the top, it does have airflow on either side. Let me go ahead and grab something. So you have your airflow chimney here on this side, airflow chimney on this side. On these sides, you have these very large wicking ports, and of course right here is where you're going to screw down your leads. I'm surprised that with such a big RTA that those post holes are as small as they are, and those post holes are held in with Allen grub screws. Here you can see here on this little divot, that's going to be where your e-liquid flows into your cotton. Here's the honeycomb airflow there. Let's go ahead and open up these post screws and throw a build in. So all the threading feels really nice and smooth. I'm not having any threading issues on the base or the post screws. Everything looks machined well. Now you do see a lot of the machining marks. They didn't really clean up any of that. But here on my channel, I don't really care much about the machining marks, but that is something I'll go ahead and point out, that you can see there are lots of machining marks, even though the threads are nice and smooth. Let's go ahead and grab some coils here. The coils I'll be using today are KB Coils. You can find him on Instagram at KB Coils, and I'm going to be using some of his aliens. These are going to be triple 26 gauge aliens, and I'm going to need my coily tool to go ahead and measure out my leads because this is a postless style build deck. So flipping it over to the side, I can kind of see the block and take a look at how deep that block goes. And I'm going to go ahead and clip my leads to 3.5 millimeters. So I went ahead and clipped my leads, and now I'm just going to go ahead and drop my coils into those post holes. So the aliens do sit in there. I would say that anything bigger than like a tri-coil alien, you might have a little trouble getting the wire to go down in those post holes. They're not that big. Though I will say those post holes are spaced quite a bit of ways apart. So having a little trouble getting my coils to drop down in there at first. So I've went ahead and tightened down my leads. Now it's time to adjust my coils. So if I flip it this way so you can see that my coils are actually touching that little bump out right there. So I definitely don't want my coils laying on that bump out. We're going to go ahead and move them forward a little bit. But not a whole lot, because I don't want that airflow to direct and fly past my coils. But if I turn it to the side again, you'll see that it does have like this little scoop there, that the airflow is going to come up, kind of hit that and bounce back at my coils. So I'm pretty happy with that coil positioning and that coil height. Again, I cut my leads at 3.5 millimeters, and that's what it looks like from the top down. So now I'm just lightly pulsing my coils so that I can get them glowing evenly from the inside out, and I'll work out any hot spots that I see here. So I've got a couple little hot spots, so I'm just going to take my little tweezers and gently strum my coil while I'm pulsing it to get those hot spots out. And there we go, they're glowing nice and evenly. Got all the hot spots out. Let's let this cool down, and then we'll go ahead and throw some wicks in there. So that my coils are cooled, I'm just going to go ahead and thread in some cotton threads here. And then we're going to go ahead and see where we need to cut those wicks. So I want to come right down there to where I see that little slot. If you can see right there, there's a little slot. So I'm going to cut it right there at where that little top O-ring for where the glass slides onto. That's where I'm going to cut my wicks. And now I'm just going to lightly comb out the ends a little bit, just to fluff them out and thin them out just a little bit. I don't want to thin them too much because this is an RTA, and we know if your cotton is too thin, it can create leaking and gurgling and stuff like that. So I'm just lightly combing those fibers, pulling out any of the stray fibers. There we go. So now we're ready to go ahead and tuck them in that little channel. And the nice thing is it has a little wall, so you can kind of tuck the cotton right behind that wall. So there it is, all wicked up. Now if you look at it, you can just barely see my cotton sticking out there. I didn't want to bring it all the way down, and I didn't want to overstuff it because I don't want dry hits. And the airflow is set up kind of high, so I'm not too worried about e-liquid like creeping up into the airflow and causing leaking. As long as that cotton kind of creates a wall right there, I'm happy with it. Same thing on the other side. You can just see my cotton peeking out from the bottom there, but all of this is nice and tucked in there to kind of create a wall, so I don't have any like gaps or anything where e-liquid can just flood up into the deck. Let's go ahead and drip some e-liquid on there. There we go. So she's all juiced up. Now we can go ahead and put our top cap on. Make sure everything sits nice and smooth. I will say that's really interesting being able to see my build inside an RTA like that. So really nice and handy. I know that I'm not bottoming out anywhere on the RTA, like my coil isn't hitting the sides anywhere. And that is the Glaz RTA V2. Let's go back up top, have a vape on it, and I'll give you my thoughts and opinions. Alright, and that was an up-close look at the Glaz V2 RTA by SteamCrave. So what are my thoughts? Well, I'll go ahead and go over what I like about it first, and then we'll talk about some of the things that I don't like about this RTA. So First thing that I really like about this RTA is the build quality. Everything on this RTA, when I opened it up, the build quality was really good. Everything was nice and clean. The threading on this is really good. I have actually disassembled this RTA clear down to as far as you can. I broke it down and gave it a good wash, and the reason for that is I accidentally ended up having a major e-juice spillage and had e-liquid in all the little seams of it. So I was really happy that this RTA can be broken down into pretty much the bare bones pieces. Even the slide out cap, there is a screw underneath, so you can take off the slide out mechanism and clean under that as well. So I really like that. The next pro on this, I mean, it's gonna be its capacity. The size of this thing, it's 31 millimeters, and it holds 7 mils with the straight glass and 10 mils with the bubble glass. And that's another big thing that I like with this RTA, is all of the added accessories that they included. They included a spare straight glass, the inner chimney, which is also glass, and a bubble glass. So if you by chance do drop this and break the glass, you at least have one set of spares in the box. So I really like that. That's a big pro for me. The next pro that I have for this is going to be the flavor. A super big atomizer, really the biggest RTA I've ever had. I was thinking I was not really gonna like this RTA, and I was blown away by how much I actually really do love this RTA. The flavor on it is really good. You get a lot of vapor, you get a lot of flavor, and I just really love the flavor on this RTA. It really surprised me. The next pro on this is going to be ease of build. It is a postless style deck, though I will say it's not hard to install your coils at all. The trickiest part will be learning at what lead length you need to clip your leads, and after you have that down, it's going to be really easy to build and also really easy to wick. I've not had any issues with leaking. Now, I did have issues with dry hits on one of the re-wicks, and I stuffed too much cotton down in there. So definitely thin out the ends of your wicks so you don't get dry hits, but I've not had any leaking. The next pro on this is going to be the airflow. I figured wide open this was going to be way too much airflow for me, but because of those honeycomb, the honeycomb airflow holes there, it smooths it out, so it takes away a lot of the turbulence that you get from really big atomizers. I have no turbulence with this, and it's really smooth, and it actually has a little bit of restriction even wide open. I'll go ahead and let you listen now. So there it is, and I'm only vaping this at 76 watts. You definitely could push way more wattage through this. I'm vaping a 0.1 ohm coil, 76 watts. I like to vape it a little bit on the cooler side, but I must say the airflow on this is really smooth, and I feel like it is plenty of airflow for the build that I have in there, though be aware, because of the style of the airflow, there is a little bit of restriction there. It's not going to be like breathing air when you breathe through this RTA. So the next thing I like about this RTA is visually, it's aesthetically pleasing. I normally don't like glass top caps where you can see your build and everything, but in an RTA, it just makes it really interesting looking. I can look in there, I can see my coils and my cotton. Now, of course, it does get a lot of condensation, but I think it's just really cool in general, the way that this RTA looks, as well as the fact that they do have those little metal sidewalls there, kind of as a support for your outer glass. Just gives it a little bit more durability. Now let's talk about what I don't like about this RTA. Well, to be honest, there really isn't anything that I don't like. However, there is one thing I see that could be improved, and that's the slide out open to fill. I really like slide out open to fill tanks because it just makes it really quick and easy, and this one is no different. It's really super easy to fill this tank. However, I feel like that slide out mechanism is a little loose, and what I would like to see companies do when they're designing slide open fill methods is to also design a locking mechanism. Now I know there are tanks out there that do have this, so I know it's possible, is to create a locking mechanism, a button that you would push and then slide, and that just makes it so is that when I'm storing it in my purse or pocket or whatever, I don't accidentally bump that open and cause a big mess, which is what happened to me. I put the device in my purse, something else in my purse had slid it open, and I ended up with e-liquid all over the inside of my purse, all over the tank, and even after just wiping off the tank, I still had e-liquid like seeping out from underneath this seam here, so I had to completely take it apart. So that's the one thing that I wish they would have done on this tank, is put a locking feature on that slide open so it doesn't accidentally slide open. And that's my thoughts on the Glaz V2 RTA. If you guys like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you're not already, click that subscribe button. And until next time, bye bye.